Hello, combat sports friends. Oh my gosh, I already see someone from MMA Twitter. I feel like it's been so long since I've done any type of live chat. And I honestly took a break from Twitter as well. So being able to reconnect with all y'all pretty people has been amazing. Yeah, UFC 298, though, pretty crazy. I have a special guest coming on who is there for all the action live. Double G on TV is going to be joining us. He was asking some fire questions at the press conference as well. So it'll be interesting to see his insight because he gets to experience it all firsthand. But before we jump into UFC 298, I do want to remind you guys that Karate Combat has an event coming up this Friday. That's going to be in the city of Mexico. I will not be at that event. The next day is Combate Global for our season opener in Miami. I will be at the play-by-play. So if you guys want to watch that, that will be on Fuse TV. They just got a new partnership for the rest of the 2024 season. So if you want to watch the English broadcast, can critique my commentary skills, that would be amazing. Combate Global has a lot of fun, interesting matchups that are happening. And, you know, who doesn't love to support some Latina MMA? So those are some housekeeping things going on. Again, Double G on TV is standing by, ready to go and talk about everything UFC 298. So without further ado, what's up, my friend?
What's up, Alex? I feel like I need to walk in or something like a talk show. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to reconnect with you because I feel like it's been so long. You have been grinding, being there at the fight weeks in person. I want to know what the energy was like of this pay-per-view. It was in California, in Anaheim. You were there for the pre-fight press conferences. So tell me about the energy compared to some of the other fight weeks that you've been to.
Oh my gosh, it was up there. It was definitely, it felt like top five, and I've been blessed to do a lot of them. Just the only way to describe it, fans were invested. You know, if they liked the fighter, they loved the fighter. You heard that from Volk. If they weren't feeling the fighter, like Ian Gary, they let him know, and just everything. If you watch press conferences, they don't do it justice. We honestly couldn't hear what they were saying to us. They could hear what we were saying to them because they had speakers over there, but honestly, the crowd, very memorable. John Anik was not exaggerating. That was a very special crowd in Anaheim all week.
I love it. And I'm seeing another comment from Twitter, Annette.
Mhm.
Love you too. I have been trying to keep up with MMA Twitter and all of its like crazy stuff. I'm sure it's much more fun for you to watch the fights from like in person versus just like participating all day in MMA Twitter. But when you just talk about Ian Gary getting all the hate that he does, was it that palpable, the hate towards him in the press conference as well, or was it a little bit more chill, you would say?
You know what? I will say this. I think he's said a lot already. Fans maybe didn't vibe with it, but I think they also understood he's here to play a villain, right? We've seen it with Connor and Chael. And I think there was this understanding, no, we don't like you, but we know you kind of don't care about it either. So, it was quite the relationship with the fans. But no, they said we pick you to be the heel, Ian Gary. Okay, I guess I'm the villain this time. Went out there and delivered. So I think it actually worked out. I'm sure they were spewing some more hateful things at him. I personally just heard it as a wave of boos where I was at. But yeah, look, it is what it is. Ian Gary handled it. But yeah, the fans, it was very clear. Like, I'll say this. Love Jeff Neal. Nothing to hate about him per se. I don't know that going in, I would have thought he was this fighter that fans were hugely invested and excited about. I think because he was fighting Ian Gary, he got such a big pop. You would not have thought Jeff Neal was going to get that kind of ovation, but because he was fighting Ian, you would have thought he was like John Cena or The Rock when they come out at WWE. It was just a reaction.
Yeah, the press conferences are definitely reaching a point where it's like almost pro wrestling-esque. And I think that's definitely sometimes what the sports needs. And other times it gets a little bit too much. But I got to give my homie a shout out, Egghead Warrior over here. He's giving a shout out to the PGF video I made earlier. We're going to talk about that at the end as well. There's big news coming in Jiu Jitsu and $100,000 grand prize for a welterweight tournament. That'll be the week of April 21st to April 26th. Hopefully, Gabriel, you'll be in Vegas at that time too, so we can like hang out and stuff. But that's going down. Shout out Egghead. He is doing a lot of great work in the jiu-jitsu scene. All right, topic number 1. We are going to dive into the ladies that started off the card, the great night of action. Number 15 at the time, Andrea Lee, was going to defend her seed against Miranda Maverick. Miranda coming in 26 years old against a 35-year-old Andrea. And you've interviewed both these fighters. You kind of have a deeper relationship. I've never spoken to these two personally. So tell me a little bit about their personalities, and was it a little bit interesting for you to watch because you actually know these two? So were you rooting for anyone in particular, or was it just kind of one of those things where you're like, oh, I just want to see which way this goes?
Let me tell you something. The love I have for those two, Andrea and I have been friends a very long time. I think people know that. Miranda, I've had a great relationship. She's just absolutely wonderful, and it's hard. It's not just like, oh, I interview you guys and all that. No, I genuinely like both of them, and
Yeah.
it's tough to see that, and you just hope that they show up and show out for themselves. Andrea's very chill. She doesn't do a ton of interviews, but one thing to know is that she's just kind of grinding, family woman, and just kind of does her thing, and just is very chill, out of the spotlight, and just sticks to her own lane. Miranda is so busy, just absolute, boss woman, has her businesses, has her job, has this whole thing about she's a professional fighter at the same time. And yeah, she is every bit the kind of busy bee that many people should aspire to be. I think we would all be a lot more successful and much more financially well off if we were tried to stay as busy as Miranda. So as people, I love them both. Look, someone's got to win, someone's got to lose. I felt like they just had a good fight. I think that Andrea, she spoke to it, just didn't feel like herself in there, didn't feel like she could bring out that output. And I think Miranda felt that. I think that Miranda, defended a lot of things on the ground well. She got taken down. It wasn't one-way traffic.
That suplex, though, I loved it.
Oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful job with it. And just credit to Miranda, just kind of kept pushing. I think that the output was what the judges ended up scoring in favor of her. But look, the only thing I say, congratulations, obviously, for Miranda. But anyone who knows me knows that I'm just proud of both women. And yeah, there was no cheering, no nothing. I just could only say like, oh, I just, I hated that someone had to lose, Alex. That's all I could say. I'm just going to go in circles.
I know, but I was particularly impressed with Miranda, even with her height disadvantage and her reach disadvantage. She was able to get those jabs, short elbows, really, not suffer from the reach disadvantage that she had. When you look at the future for Miranda Maverick now, she obviously just beat someone in the top 15. Where do you think she goes from here?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it kind of opens up, right? Because she's kind of been on that periphery of the rankings for a while. Obviously, the fight with Jazz DeVicious would have been a big one. Look, you have other girls up there. So I think now you start talking about those right matchups to start building your way into that top 10 from here. I think that there's a few fights. It's just about scheduling and timing. The thing about when you get to the rankings as opposed to outside of them, suddenly it's about, what makes the most sense. Everybody's trying to, one, stay busy, but two, get the right fights that push them forward. Sometimes you're in the good position to get that, sometimes not. So I think timing and a little bit of patience, but Miranda is showing she wants to stay active and get after it. And I think she's just going to keep moving up.
Yes, a very fun fight from the female flyweights that we had there. And then another fun fight from the woman between Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Lemos. Wow. Mackenzie Dern, she is tough as they get. I mean, when you go through a fight that she had, over a year ago now, where she breaks her nose and Jason Perillo's in the corner saying, it's not broken, it's not broken. And she just fights through that. Then she gets knocked down. You could see the pain in her face. I thought that she might have broken her nose again. And then upon the replay, I saw that it was more of her eye. And even Dana White said in the post press conference after, like, we thought for sure her orbital was broken, especially how quickly her face began to swell up. But boy, did she try to put jiu-jitsu on her back. Like, yes, she was struggling a little bit on the feet, but she did land some haymakers in there. Sometimes she kind of goes in there without keeping her head up, sometimes losing a little bit of the technique. I mean, rightfully so after you've been completely rocked. But she, kept her composure, was looking for some knee bars, trying to get anything that she could do. And I think everyone who's a jiu-jitsu fan was like, come on, Mackenzie, you can do this. But what were your biggest takeaways from that performance? Obviously, Mackenzie's not coming off of the best performance in her last one. So she tried to make a bounce back, didn't get the decision going her way, but at least she did get that fight of the night performance bonus.
I mean, I think you got to remember she got this fight on 4 weeks' notice when Tatiana Suarez got hurt against someone who had just fought for the title, against someone who knew that if they beat a Tatiana, you are back on the short list for a title shot. Amanda Lemos was getting ready for a big fight. So I think the fact that Mackenzie came in with less time, had to do everything, cut weight and all that, and still delivered the way she did, I don't think you could take that as a full loss. Some of the other ones, sometimes you're the hammer, sometimes you're the nail, right? I think Mackenzie should be very proud. I think fans are very impressed. The thing about Lemos that I find just very impressive, when we were getting to know her and she's making her way up, she's immediately just kind of shocked by Jessica Andrade standing arm triangle, rear naked choke. You don't see it all the time, and it's like, oh, well, you're not quite at Jessica Andrade's level, right? That's what that looked like. Bounces back, has the title fight. Look, it didn't go away against Zhang Wei Li, but kind of reminding people that, no, she is, kind of like that dark horse of the strawweight division. Beats Marina Rodriguez, who's obviously a top contender and a vet too. So I think you just got to acknowledge Lemos is not a pushover. I know she, kind of flies under the radar with Tatiana and Yan Shonan and Mackenzie. No, this girl brings it. And I think the fact that she had to work as hard to beat someone like a Mackenzie on short notice speaks to the grit and the execution from Mackenzie Dern. Obviously, it was just a great fight. But yeah, I was just very impressed. I think the fans reacted to it too. Mackenzie came for a scrap. And I think that that's something people forget. They see the Instagram, they think the jiu-jitsu, no, when it turns into a firefight, Mackenzie Dern bites down and gets after it. And that's exactly the thing the fans love to see.
Yeah, she's definitely tough as nails. When she first got nailed, though, I thought by the look on her face, she was done. In the way that she turtled away, I thought it was going to be over from there. And she managed to, actually make it work out in her favor because now she's on her back and she can work her jiu-jitsu game. But you could just see in the expression of her face, you were like, damn, that one hurt.
Oh, yeah. And she, by the way, on a week where a lot of people had a big reception, she had a great pop too. The fans love Mackenzie and, they appreciated the show out there.
And I just have so much respect for her. She has been so open about her divorce, and she had such a great fight against Angela Hill when she was dealing with all that. And then, she's in a better place at her in her last fight. And then she doesn't perform as well. Feels like she had one of the worst performances of her career. And she's just on this roller coaster that she takes us all through and is so genuine on her shows where she, is being interviewed by Ariel. And I don't know. She's just a fan favorite for many reasons. I think it dives deeper than her just being hot, and a lot of people, posting pictures of her being in different positions. And I'm like, is that really all you guys care about? Can we care about, her personality being awesome and her fight skills being awesome? But I get it. I get why people are big fans of her. And, it's a tough loss, but I feel like that bonus definitely makes a tough loss like that a little bit sweeter. And how funny is it that she misheard the announcement originally and thought she won?
Look, that crowd was loud. I know it happened more recently too, where Buffer and there was the confusion. It's wait, what happened? And look, those arenas, they're enclosed spaces. When you have that many people shouting, every now and then you miss something at the bottom there. So yeah, it was quite something. I almost felt bad because it's because it's always a little embarrassing. You can imagine, but it's she had a good fight. I think you don't come away from that thinking, oh, I don't want to see Mackenzie Dern again. Of course you do. And credit to Lemos. I mean, she delivered in a very difficult situation and got it done too.
Yeah, obviously the strawweight division is always super, super exciting. So they're keeping it going in the top 5 of the strawweight division. The other bonuses that happened, Ilya Topuria got a performance of the night bonus. Zhang with his KO, and then Anthony Hernandez getting that awesome submission. So bonuses being handed out. We love to see that. Uncle Dana getting his fighters paid in that sense. And now we move on to topic number 3, one of my more excited topics I'm more excited to talk about. Merab the Machine getting it done against Henry Cejudo. And I feel like a lot of the conversations coming into UFC 298 were talking about father time and this and that. And that is a little bit of what we saw with this Merab versus Henry fight, because Henry, he was doing pretty well in that first round. And then, when you're 37 years old fighting in the bantamweight division, he had quite the drop off in the second round. So was that what you were anticipating, that at this age for him, it is just going to be hard for him to keep up with this caliber of competition in the bantamweight division?
Yeah, and I think full credit to Merab. I mean, this is a guy who, his own skills, he's not a slouch. I mean, most takedowns ever, things like that. In a division where everyone's, pretty well-rounded. I mean, bantamweight is not a division where a lot of people stand out and have these dominant performances because the talent level is so high. Just look at it worldwide. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I did think that was going to happen. I thought, if you tell me, like, a straight kickboxing fight, Henry is probably the better one, tit for tat. Overall, though, I thought that the athletic gifts and just the weapons from Merab, combined with that age factor, was going to start to pull away sooner or later in the fight. And we saw that in the second round. Look, you don't do this to a guy who's been wrestling his whole life, who's earned a gold medal in the Olympics, and et cetera, et cetera. And Merab should have had a title shot. I'll say that right now. This is probably the best performance he could have had that's not fighting for the title. To do that to a guy like Henry Cejudo, to pretty much send him into retirement because you are so freaking far ahead, was just ridiculous. It was an absolutely amazing performance. Look, I don't want to hear anymore. I don't care if it's 6 months from now, 9 months, 12 months. Merab for the title shot next. I think he's proven it. He's earned it. And let's be real, this was a high-risk fight, and he passed it with flying colors. So I think you get rewarded with the title shot when you deliver like that.
Yeah, Gabe, you're leading me to my next question, because we have Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley at UFC 299 March 9th. That is a long-awaited fight, a rematch that a lot of people cannot wait to see. After that performance by Merab, completely 100% deserved. He is now holding the streak for longest bantamweight streak, or tied with Aljamain Sterling, and he has beaten now 3 former champions. That is no easy feat, and he's doing it with such grace and honestly some very a humble attitude about it. In the press conference, he was just so happy and elated to be with the people that he was talking with. And he even mentioned, he was just like, well, yeah, if it was Henry and I just on the wrestling mats, he'd probably beat me. But this is MMA, And when you look at the stats that happened, Merab held Cejudo to only 29 total significant strikes. Merab had 5 out of 11 takedowns and has kept Cejudo 1 for 7. And so then he goes into the press conference after and says something along the lines of, yeah, well, if we were just wrestling, I'm sure he's such a better wrestler than me. Meanwhile, stats show that Merab was doing the better wrestling. And he just, gives credit where it's due. He's like, yeah, he might be the better wrestler, but this is MMA. I showed out tonight. And like you said, you think that he deserves the next title shot. So when you're looking ahead, Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley, you think that is going to be a potential matchup for him, whoever gets the winner of that. Which way do you think it would go? Which matchup do you think is a better matchup for Merab?
Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly, they're both really good. When you look at it, I would argue Sean O'Malley, just because we don't tend to see him off of his back. I mean, he did Polaris, and then he's kind of been lighting people up on the feet since then, right? So that's one. I know Chito's a more decorated grappler, but once again, he kind of just, you know how they say your fighting style, Bruce Buffer does it. His just needs to be like gangster. Like, he doesn't really go for boring stuff. He just goes like, we're going to throw down and I'm going to do some damage. Like if Nate Diaz was going for power shots instead of volume shots, he'd be like Chito Vera. Chito, like he'll lose 4 minutes, but then he'll crack you in the last one and he wins fights. This is who Chito is. I would argue though, like the fight has to be Sean O'Malley, a guy, obviously Sean, just the run he's on, and then Marab with the streak that he's on. It's like it just makes sense, right? It has to happen. I think that certainly the clash of personalities would make for a very fun one between Sean and Marab. So from a marketing standpoint, from a stylistic standpoint, it'd be great. I would argue, like, let me ask you a question. What kind of fighter do you think gives a guy like Marab problems? Honestly, like if you had to like build it like on a UFC video game, what kind of qualities would they need to honestly give a guy like this issues?
I mean, I think it's a guy like Sugar Sean with that reach and that takedown defense. I think Sugar Sean is the one that would give him more problems over Chito Vera.
Yeah, I would almost argue you need. I don't know that there is a guy because yes, I think with the speed and the height for sure, Sean. But I almost feel like you need just this almost equally as stocky and just like you almost need like Francis Ngannou at bantamweight, someone with real stopping power because Marab is just so well conditioned. He's so freaking powerful that it's hard to kind of stop him in his tracks when he's coming at you. And so if you don't have the wrestling to do this all day, you kind of need someone that he doesn't want to get in there with those hands. He's gone through Peter Yan. If you're going to walk through Peter Yan, you're going to walk through pretty much everybody, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think that it has to be Sean if Sean could keep him on the outside. But once again, the stats say that is very difficult to do. So it makes for a very fun fight.
Yes, definitely very exciting. I love how Marab was carrying around a Mexican flag. He's representing Georgia, but he's, now to a lot of Mexicans, Uncle Tio Marab, which I like. Gosh. You gotta, get all the fans that you can, and the Mexican fans are fans that you want on your side.
I think he went for the layup in Southern California, which I appreciated. Because here's the thing, I bet you Henry wasn't thinking, oh yeah, I should really start hyping this part of it. Nope. Marab beat him to the punch. It was great.
I love it. I love it. And topic 4, we're going to get on with Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal. Ian Gary becomes 14-0, wins by split decision. 2 judges had it 30-27 for Ian Gary. Is that how you scored that fight as well?
Yeah, I thought that it was a tactical fight. I know that I was in the back, so I didn't get to experience the crowd, but everyone told me like, yeah, fans kind of wanted more carnage, but it was a technical battle. And I think that when you watch that fight back, Ian Gary really neutralizing the offense of Jeff Neal, gets his own volume of shots in. Like I said, not maximum carnage, but he definitely got that decision. I thought he executed a great game plan. I did see it. I thought that Ian just kind of led the dance for the majority of the way. Yeah, and I was just very impressed. I think when all the stuff that gets said about him, the Sean Strickland stuff, et cetera, the crowd kind of saw him as the villain, and he just delivers. He really tunes out the noise and executes the way that he did when the lights were finally on. I was just very impressed. I think that was as impressive as any of the punches and kicks that he was throwing with Jeff Neal.
And how much do you think that the narrative and the hate of the crowd and the general MMA population is influencing how they're analyzing the fight? Like, do you think that the fight was as boring as everyone was saying, or as, just deserving of all the hate that it is? Or do you think it is partially or, heavily due to the fact that he is just being, portrayed as the heel now?
I think you just hit it on the nail. It was not like, there are way more boring fights, straight up. I mean, once again, was it, like Glover and Jiri and Hamzat and Gilbert Burns? No, it wasn't one of those. I'll give you that. I'll say that right now.
I thought it was fascinating to watch the footwork.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, it was a very technical battle.
About it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a very technical battle, but there are way worse fights. So I think it was because the fans have heard everything that he said and they react to it. I know it's a whole thing about it. I thought that he just handled that really well. Once again, I mean, this is low-key part of the master plan. He got Leon Edwards talking about him. He got most of the welterweight division talking about him. That's what you want. That's what Conor McGregor did. Chael, Go back, Tito, Ken Shamrock. It's guys who could talk and get under the skin and, all this. Kayla Harrison said it. Sometimes, people don't react to miscongeniality. Ian Gary certainly knows what he's doing. He knows he could just be like, yeah, I think it's going to be a great fight. He goes out there and, like he said so many times, you're talking about him. That's kind of the goal. He's buddies with Conor McGregor. Conor has probably let him know at some point, hey, man, sometimes all you care about is that they're invested. And if they're reacting that strongly to you, let me tell you, you could go in there and take out the hero of Brazil and they will parade you. It's all part of the thing. And I will say, I feel like, because you and I both know Ian and Layla a little bit, who they are as people. Certainly, Ian Gary isn't out there talking trash with everybody when you see him in person. He's a very wonderful gentleman, nice guy, family man. His wife absolutely is his ride or die. I will tell you right now, I think that if you're a guy and you had a Layla Anali like with you, you would think that you've won at life. She is absolutely his rock. They clearly have just this bond with each other that really, when you see them together, it's so special. I know some people see the clips online. I mean, really, anytime I've seen them, they are just like this. And I think that that's something you got to understand. They really don't care about a lot of things. They know the relationship they have with each other.
Exactly.
He didn't take the ex-husband's name. He took her maiden name. The nutritionist, the ex-boyfriend doesn't live with them. That's all fake news. And they've said it. This isn't like, well, are they, aren't they? Like, they've literally told you no. But I get it. It's the internet. It's a reality show. If everyone's just nice to each other, it wouldn't be entertaining. People want to make something that's just not there.
Yeah, and so what Gabe is talking about, how we know them so closely, is because we have worked a few karate combat events and worked with each other. And Layla has been like a mentor to me, helping me out with my own broadcast journey. And just seeing the things that she has went through has honestly been like honestly scary to me, because as a woman in the industry, she is like a world renowned broadcaster. She has done football, she has done other sports,
World
she's done
Cup.
entertainment. Yeah, so she is much more than, someone, a fighter's girlfriend. So it is actually a really great honor for Ian to be married to someone like her, just as it is for her to be married to him. And they're just such a compatible, beautiful couple that is honestly an inspiration and goals for me to find a love that's so promising and so like best friends. Like no matter what they're doing it together. If she has to miss a karate combat show, she'll miss a karate combat show to be with him. And vice versa. They have a beautiful kid, baby Leo. So I think it's crazy that the internet can go after women in the industry and degrade them to being something of trying to use someone for their career when they've already had a very successful career of their own. So I definitely think that's ridiculous. I thought she looked absolutely stunning. I texted her, I was like, I love your dress, she looks amazing. And she's just such an
She's
inspiration
like
to me.
Megan O'Leary. She doesn't miss on the fashion for sure. Like, it's the European
Exactly.
fashion. It's like, they know all the people who make beautiful clothes for the world over there. But no, I also want to
She
point
does
out,
not miss Megan, for sure.
yeah, for sure. But what I was going to say also that I always find a little funny, I don't know that people, I get it. If you just watch MMA, you don't realize this. This woman has worked for like Adidas on their show where they had Lionel Messi. I mean, I'm sorry, do you not know who those people are? Do you not, like, that is not a Mickey Mouse job, no offense to ESPN, which is obviously owned by the mouse, but you get what I'm saying. And if anything, I get it now. Ian obviously is in a great moment of his career, but it's like, if anything, when they first got together, Ian had not accomplished a lot of things he has obviously done now. And Layla was the one, it's like, I actually thought that was very ironic. I think people don't even realize that, you want to say the wag and all this. Technically, Ian was the lucky one when this whole thing started. You know what I mean?
People just love to hate on what they can't have. And a beautiful relationship is really hard to come by. So it does not shock me at all. And obviously, you have fighters with big names like Colby Covington coming. Of course, he, talks about everyone's wife or girlfriend or kids, but especially with this matchup, it's going to get super, super grimy and super out of pocket. But you were at the press conference. You heard the way Ian spoke with such conviction about how he is going to punch Colby Covington so hard he might not ever speak again. So he said that with a lot of honesty in his eyes. What were your reactions hearing that in person, Ian Gary, telling off Colby Covington?
Well, I got to cheat a little bit because when I talked to Ian Gary, he kind of laid out the plan and he said, look, my perfect, scenario if I write the script is Conor McGregor fights Michael Chandler. And then, in the co-main event, it's another Ireland versus America, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or a Colby Covington. And I think that's smart marketing because Conor is going to bring you along for the ride if you're riding along on the same card with him. And then secondly, yeah, I think he sees this, once again, Ian's not afraid to chop it up a little bit on the mic. He's aware it's part of the game of MMA. I think, though, he sees a perfect opportunity. I think that particularly for this version of Colby Covington, after the layoff, after the way he lost to Leon Edwards, this is the perfect kind of fight that you could probably leverage yourself for your next one. And I think that makes for a very smart business move. I think that let's see where Conor and Chandler eventually falls if it does, because if it's on the timetable, you absolutely push to fight Colby on that card. I think all parties involved should want that.
100%. Can't disagree with you there. Okay, so I'm at my, not my new spot, but a place that I'll be living every now and then in Vegas, and I have no furniture yet. So I've been moving around like a weirdo because my feet are falling asleep.
I thought you were doing your yoga.
Yeah, my legs are dying right now. I need to get furniture. So we'll move on to the main event. Alexander Volkanovski couldn't get it done. Ilia Topuria came into this matchup with so much confidence, changing his Instagram profile pic to him holding the belt, stealing the belt at the press conference. And now we are opening up a gate and a new audience in Spain because, I work with Combate Global. The audience retention that we get from the Spaniards is not very big yet. We have a big fan base in Chile, Mexico, obviously, but Spain, not so much. And I feel like things could really be changing now that Ilia Topuria has become the featherweight champion. So when you look at that fight, there was a big stat going into this that 35-year-old age, you can't beat Father Time. When you were looking at the matchup itself, what were you expecting? Did you think that Volk was going to be able to get it done? And then when you saw the results, what was your reaction?
Absolutely. I think I treated Volk like you treat GSP, like you treat Anderson Silva. You give a champion like that the credit that no matter who they're up against, they're going to figure it out, because why wouldn't they when they've done it every other time before? That being said, was he as durable as he was, leading, before the Islam rematch? I don't know. Only he knows. Certainly, the optics of it didn't look good. And then you got to speak the facts. You had an elite level 35-year-old athlete against an elite level 26-year-old athlete. When you're in a cage fight, stuff is going to happen. Ilia got it on the button. I mean, you've seen it in slow-mo now. Volk is kind of bringing his momentum into it. Ilia's in the pocket. Everything's short and tight. It's hitting right there on that nice, the sweet spot on the chin. There's nothing else you can really say about that. Once again, I know how much the fans love Volk. The amount of just people ate it up. He honestly, he could have led just takeover of Anaheim with the fan love that he had, the old man Volk and people dressed up in costume. It was a whole thing. And yeah, look, it just wasn't meant to be, right? And instead, Ilia now just kind of ushers this in. You kind of have this, Volk could get it back, but we have for the moment a changing of the guard. You have a young champion who's already looked fantastic, who already took out a top contender in Josh Emmett. And really, it's the winner of this Saturday and Max Holloway. Max Holloway could lose to Justin Gaethje, and suddenly it's like, look, you got Yair or Ortega, and then it's wide open. Who do you have for this guy? It's a very exciting time, and I do think that we are going to see some movement. And I think the fact that not saying that obviously there wasn't a great reception to the African champions. You see that video of all the Spanish stars, Rafa Nadal and all that. I'm sure the tourism company, the tourism department of Spain called UFC and said, hey, when can we do this? We would love to host it. And I'm sure Dana White was happy to hear that. So I think things are moving very much for Spain.
Yeah, I am definitely very excited for them to be doing more events in Spain. I think that'll have to be my second UFC event. I've only been to one in Miami, but if they do one in Spain, I'll have to, bust out the wallet for that. And yes, Ilya is muy peligroso. We know Kairos is always in here using that Espanol. And he's going to be a very, very interesting champion for us to have. He's great on the mic. He is really easy to get behind. And again, that confidence coming in, changing his profile pic, and just having the tenacity that he did. But where do you think Volk goes from here? Someone did leave a comment that he came back too fast in the press conference when they were asking Dana White whether or not he should take some time off. Dana didn't really have any preference. He's like, that's up to the doctors. That's up to them. If he wants to fight, he can fight. So what do you think Volk has to do from here? Obviously, he has such a fighter's heart. He'll probably want to get in there as soon as possible. But when you have these type of defeats back to back, what should be next for the former champ?
I really want to see a little bit of time off for Volk. I think that, with respect to, everything he's done, I think at this age, it becomes about how do you get the most out of the fights you do have left. He's not, as much as I know he feels great, there is such a thing as burning the candle at both ends. I don't want that for Volk. I do still think he's a top fighter. Yo creo que él puede regresar y ser el campeón otra vez, ¿me entiendes? I felt like showing off. You did too. But my thing is that I think a little bit of time off. I think that Ilya's next fight won't be Volk, but Volk's next fight will be for the title. And we just kind of see where the cards go from here. For example, let's say that Ilya were to fight at, it's February, let's say July International Fight Week, right? Let's say he fights Ortega or Yair. And then they say, hey, this fall, we got it done. We're going to Spain with Ilya if he defends it. Ilya Volk 2 in Spain, the most dominant champion of the featherweight division for years, and he's running it back in now the hero's hometown who's shown he's the man of the moment. Sign me up. Easy win. Woo! So I think that that's what they would do with it.
I love that. I love everything you had to say. You always have so much insight, and being able to be there on site, I think definitely gives you an insider look that my audience will definitely appreciate. Gabe, I told you that we were going to be 30 minutes. It is 37 minutes now. So I want to thank you for your time. UFC 298 was amazing. If you are in the group chat right now, I want to start having different guests on and being more consistent about this live chat. So we'll keep on interacting and engaging on MMA Twitter, start doing more live chats and all that stuff. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk. Again, we have Combate Global this Saturday on Fuse, and we also have Karate Combat on Friday. And then, of course, there is more UFC. So there's just combat, nonstop. Gabe, what do you have going on that you want to let the audience know?
Always interviews. We're going to have Amanda Ribas on the show this week, so very fun stuff. Ooh. Always, just look out for a lot of different content. We're also, getting out a little bit. I'm going to plug this, some merch, GG@millions.com. You guys check it out, support the cause. Also going to be doing some more card breaking with the Topps cards coming out soon, hopefully. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be posting all of that on my IG.
All right. Thank you so much, Gabriel. And last but not least, did I miss your PGF coverage? There has not been so much PGF coverage. Ending on that note, Gabriel, I know if you don't want to stay for this, you don't have to.
No, go for it.
Yes. In April, we have a big event coming up. I will be your sideliner. sideline reporter. I am so ecstatic to be working with BMAC, Brandon McCatherine, the head coach over there at 10th Planet Decatur. He's also like the main guy for all things jiu-jitsu. You'll find him on UFC Fight Pass. He's doing AIGA events. Jiu-jitsu is just growing everywhere, all over the maps. But basically, PGF is doing a big thing with jiu-jitsu, and it's really trying to legitimize it as a sport. And on March 1st, it's going to be in Las Vegas, where I am currently at. There is going to be the qualifier at 10th Planet Vegas, if I'm not mistaken. So people are going to be competing, fighting for a spot. There are 20 athletes total that will be involved. They're going to be split up into 4 teams. Those coaches have been announced. Higan Machado is now a coach. We have Eddie Bravo, who is definitely going to be an interesting coach to listen to and be able to interview. And then we also have Haja Gracie and Andre Galvao. So definitely a lot of rivalries that potentially could be born here. Thanks, Kairos. I love it. Kairos is the freaking best person. He's my favorite Twitter follow to listen to. He always has funny shit to say. So yes, this PGF tournament, it is a team style tournament. And basically, if you get a choke, you get 6 points, because that's like a kill. You know, if you were on the street and you choke someone out, you killed them. If you won by a leg lock or a joint lock, you know, you just broke their arm in the street. So that's only 3 points. And then if you get them within a minute, you get an extra point. So the way that the point system is made just gives jiu-jitsu like a concrete way of doing things, which I think is something that the sport is missing right now. Because, you know, there's so many different rule sets that people do. This gives a team setting and also a solidified set of rules. But not only are the athletes going to be competing and working together as a team to get the most points for their team and hopefully win the $100,000 grand prize, they're also going to be competing for themselves, trying to get as many points as they can, because if they get into the top 8, they will be advancing to the playoffs. So the playoffs are going to be, you know, every man for themselves competing for an extra 20K. So basically there's going to be a draft. The 4 coaches that I named, they're going to be picking their teams. You could be on a team, you know, 10th Planet guy could be with a Gracie guy, and they have to become teammates all of a sudden. So there could be drama, you know, what's that one? I'm thinking of a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie, but basically a lot of friendships are going to be tested. Rivalries will be made at the draft. And then once we get to the fight week of everything, these competitors will compete 3 times a night. So you have to really strategize how you're going to strategize what your game is. You don't want to leave injured. You don't want to let a few joints pop and not be able to compete the next day. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that breaks down. They've announced a few of the fighters already that you can catch all that on PGF World on Instagram. And also my YouTube channel is going to be a big base for that. BMAX Instagram and YouTube also. So yeah, everything jiu-jitsu. I have a big jiu-jitsu nerd fan base on my YouTube channel. And it's all really fun stuff. So Gabriel, I don't know what you think about that, but
I think that they could not have picked a better person for the broadcast, honestly.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope we're in Vegas at the same time. My homeboy, Wes Martin, that I met at High Rollers a long time ago. It's so funny the way the world works. Like High Rollers, I would just show up and try to interview anyone. And then I feel like now we're here. And wait, I meant to do this one. BJJ, let's fucking go. Yes, we have a big year in 2024 with everything jiu-jitsu. So I will see you guys next time. And thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be doing more of these live chats, and I want to start doing some giveaways. You know, maybe I can convince Gabriel to get me some of that Double G merch one of these days, sign it, and, you know, let it
I got you.
have a giveaway at some point. Thank you so much, Double G on TV. I'm Alex Wendling. That was your UFC 298 review, and we will see you next time on another live chat. Thank you guys for joining.